you.
That's correct.
Thank you. So if we could begin with your statement.
General, if you could please speak up a bit and bring one of the two mics right in front of you, please. Thank you.
Thank you. General, your statement is 78 pages. Can you go to page 78? Is that your signature at the end of the statement?
That's correct, Commissioner.
And have you read the statement?
Yes, I've read.
And can you confirm on oath that the contents are true and correct?
I do confirm the contents of my affidavit are true and correct.
Will there be any technological issues if the General leaves his mic on? I think it's quite awkward that he keeps switching on and off,
I'll be guided by the techies on that.
Who can give us guidance? Is there anyone, technical person? Is it fine if the General leaves it on? Please leave it on, General. Thank you.
I assume that it's also fine if I leave mine on then as we proceed.
Is it fine if both are on? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Okay, if we can begin at the beginning. Page 1 of your statement sets out a table of contents, and you've divided your statement into 3 parts. Can I ask you, for those who don't have the statement in front of them, to just go through the headings of your statement so that people have a roadmap of your evidence?
Thank you, Chairperson, Commissioners. My affidavit is divided into 3 parts. The first part, or part A, I will be introducing the whole affidavit, and then I will follow it up with my service history and background in the SAPS, South African Police Service. I will also give my intelligence operation, and also give further evidence on infiltration of the criminal justice system. Under Part C, I'll be dealing with the disbandment or disestablishment of the political killings task team, with specific reference to the 121 dockets that were returned. I will also deal with the retaliation against the political killings task team, and then I'll conclude my affidavit.
Thank you, General Khumalo. So paragraphs 1 to 4 then of your statement. You provide your current position and your reasons for furnishing a statement to the Commission. Can you please explain those paragraphs to the Commission?
Introducing myself, I am Lieutenant General Khumalo in the South African Police Service, currently holding the rank of a Lieutenant General, and the post title I am the Regional Commissioner of Crime Intelligence since the 1st of December 2022. Coupled with my current title and position, I have also been the project leader of the Political Killings Task Team since I succeeded Major General Ramatswele, who retired at the end of September 2018. But from the inception, I was the project coordinator for the Political Killings Task Team since July 2018. In finishing this statement, I'll describe the history of the task team from its establishment date, and also I will show the role that organized crime cartel played in an attempt to close down the Political Killings Task Team. It is my view and the Political Killings Task Team was due to the influence of a particular organized crime cartel over the Ministry of Police as well as the South African Police Service, who mistakenly thought that the Political Killings Task Team was investigating the same cartel.
Thank you. Before we proceed to paragraphs 5 and 6, you have indicated that the evidence that you provide today is what you're able to speak of in public, and that there's additional evidence. You wish to address that, please, with reference to paragraphs 5 and 6.
That's correct, Commissioners. Included in my affidavit is all the evidence that I'll be able to share in the public hearing. But alongside this evidence set out in this statement, there is also considerably more evidence that will be shared in public space for the following reasons. Sharing some of evidence will expose our methodologies, will expose our informants, the resources, the high risk, the current threat assessment of the Gauteng organized crime, Gauteng counterintelligence investigation, as it's still ongoing. Also sharing some of the information will compromise the same ongoing investigation. After giving oral evidence, apply to the Commission for the remaining evidence to be heard in camera, or in respect of the second class of the evidence described above, to defer the giving of such evidence in open hearing until such time do so without again compromising the current and ongoing criminal investigations. As I've said, for the safety of those involved and the protection of the investigation itself.
Can I just check, Mr. Sim, this that you referred to, is that what you have in paragraph 5.2, where you say giving some of your evidence in public would prejudice against ongoing criminal investigation? Is that the second class you're referring to?
The second class, Commissioners, refers to if it happens that during the sitting is some of evidence that can safely be shared in public, will do so.
Do I understand you to be to be saying, General, that if current and ongoing criminal investigations reach a point where they're concluded before the Commission has completed its investigations, that you would share that.
Commissioners.
Thank you. Can we then turn, your next topic that you address is your service history and your background. Can you please explain to the Commission with reference to paragraph 7 to 9, your background?
Thank you, Commissioners. As I've introduced myself, I've been serving as the Divisional Commissioner of Crime Intelligence since December 2022. My whole service history is contained in the SAPS 96 record of service that is attached as Annexure S, and I confirm its correctness.
Are you done, or you want to continue with that?
I'm continuing. I joined the South African Police Service in July 1991, as confirmed and reflected in the attached service records. As a constable, and I grew up to the current rank of a Lieutenant General. I've served the police for the period of 34 years. Testimony to that are the 10 years, 20 years, and 30 years loyal service medals that has been bestowed to me. Served and excelled in all policing environments or programs at both operational and managerial levels. That is from crime prevention to crime investigation and to crime intelligence. Thank you.
Thank you. Long service medals, are those reflected in your SAPS 96?
That is correct, Commissioners.
All right. So in your next section, you speak about something called the 5-pillar approach. So as I understand it, this is your approach to crime prevention and combating. Can you please explain that to the Commission?
Thank you, Commissioners. I grew up the ranks that between 2011 and 2018, I was at the level of a brigadier, and I was appointed the head of national operations, responsible for the planning, the execution of the plan, the monitoring of the operation, as well as the assessment thereof. It happened then that during my course of duty, I identified one of the shortcomings that was affecting our threat-specific or periodical operations and at some normal operations of the police, which was lack of coordinated efforts. SAPS had become more over-specialized in terms of the environment that you are operating on, which was making it difficult then to then in a unified and coordinated manner.
What do you mean by specialized, General?
By over-specialized, meaning that if you are within the crime prevention environment, you'll regard it as your specialization that has got nothing to do with the investigation environment of crime. Hence, then, it was affecting efforts in terms of dealing with a particular crime or threat in an operation format. The initiative then that is normally called and referred to now as five-pillar approach, was meant to address, as I've mentioned, that during my assessment of all the operations that I was coordinating nationally, this shortcoming came up and it was rendering our operations to be ineffective. Since then, we had to five-pillar approach, which was firstly presented to the South African Police Board of Commissioners in 2016, where it was formally approved. I subsequently then oversaw the implementation of this approach in all national interventions. Since the introduction of this approach, the five-pillar approach then has been adopted as the standard operational methodology of the whole of the South African Police Service.
Before Advocate Hassim asked you to tell us what the approach is exactly, I too had a question for you on this. You deal with it in paragraph 10, or I should not even say you deal with it, you mention the five-pillar approach, and you again mention it, let me see where, in paragraph 14 as well, you mention it. But nowhere, unless I've misread your statement, nowhere do you tell us or give us the five pillars. What are the five pillars themselves? I'm asking because of the later mention in paragraph 14, it seems that it is of relevance. If you had just mentioned it in passing in paragraph 10, I would not have bothered, but paragraph 14 suggests that it is relevant. These five pillars are.
So, General, the Chair is asking the relevance of the five-pillar approach plan and what the content is. And as pointed out, you deal with it later to say that that is the approach that informed the work of the political killings task team. So it's quite important that you set out what the five pillars are.
The first pillar is, the second pillar is, right up to pillar 5.
As the first pillar talks to the intelligence gathering, coordination, and analysis. The second pillar talks to the proactive approach in dealing with crime or a particular threat. The pillar talks to the more combat approach in dealing with the particular threat. And pillar number 4 talks to the reactive through detection. In other words, focused investigations. Pillar number 5 talks to communication and liaison aspects of the whole approach. But as the Chair has indicated, I will dwell much on those pillars when I get to paragraph 14 and linking this five-pillar approach to other operations where it has been used with more specific reference than to the political killings task team.
Thank you, General. You also give an example, is the example that you provide in paragraph 12 an example of the implementation of this approach?
Thank you, Commissioners. Yes, indeed, in paragraph 12, we are noting one example of a successful application or implementation of this approach in one of our national intervention operations, that provinces, which was Mpumalanga, Limpopo, and KwaZulu-Natal, that was focusing on rhino poaching or wildlife trafficking. I was the leader, the project leader, the commander of this operation, which ran from or under the nickname Ops Rhino, which ran then for close to 7 years in those 3 provinces. This 5-pillar approach in its totality. The operation itself happened then to coincide with a need for us to develop the strategy that was going to be implemented in the country in dealing with wildlife trafficking. I was part of the leadership strategy that is now referred to as National Integrated Strategy to Combat Wildlife Trafficking in South Africa, which is, of course, internationally recognized as we speak, and it was the first of its kind in the country and was approved by the Cabinet 3. The primary objective of the strategy was to guide the law enforcement agencies in South Africa and to equip them with necessary resources to reduce the problem of wildlife trafficking. It was recommended by the Cabinet as a more practical tool for the investigation of wildlife trafficking syndicates internationally.
Thank you.
General, where you say it was recommended by Cabinet, you mean commended by Cabinet?
I'm sorry,
That's what you
Commissioners,
say-
it
that's
was
what you say.
commended, yes.
And so, General, as I background, are you going to return to the issue of this approach to investigations when you talk about the work of the PKTT?
That is correct, Commissioners. I thought of explaining this approach at the beginning of my affidavit because it will assist us as we go through the methodology utilized in the political killings task team.
Thanks. All right, so can you, in paragraphs 13 to 16, you speak about crime investigation and your role since your background since 2008. Briefly take the Commission through that.
Yes, Commissioners. Since July 2018, I was assigned initially coordinator, which subsequently led to my appointment as the project leader from September 2018. The national task team that is still responsible for the investigation of political leaders in the province of KwaZulu-Natal. This was as a result of the directive by the President in establishing the interim, which was appointed to ensure that those that are responsible for the killings in the province of KwaZulu-Natal are held accountable. During my initial days in the project, it became clear by the Interministerial Committee as well as ourselves as the new command that the investigations in these cases were not yielding any successful results for a variety of challenges that I will also move on with the briefing on the establishment of the political clearing task team as well as methodologies employed. It was during the initial stages that I have to develop the strategy that was going to be used. The strategy of which now we refer to it as Trident, the analysis-led investigation using organized crime approach.
General Mkwanazi and General Masemula told us about the prosecution-led process. You have now added analysis and prosecutorial-driven, you call it. Can you explain to us this new aspect of analysis-led, which the other generals did not mention?
Thank you, Chairperson, Commissioners. The analysis-led is the initial approach or the initial plan that at the beginning of the project. The integrated approach came few months down the line. Hence, then I thought that just to show the investigative approach before we expand it to include the analysis-led approach was basically meant to bring different expertise from within SAPS to work in a coordinated fashion. Our approach was, let us get our house in order first before we invite other stakeholders, so as then the integrated approach will be more effective, sorted our own issues within SAPS.
Do I understand you then to mean that the analysis-led was not something applied on a case-by-case basis? It's something that you engaged in at the initial stage, that the prosecution-led process was on a case-by-case basis. Each case involved prosecutors engaging with the investigators, making suggestions to them on what to investigate, hence prosecution-led investigation on a case-by-case basis. Now, I understand your answer with regard to analysis-led to mean that you did the analysis as different role players within SAPS taken place at the initial stage. Do I understand you correctly, or was it also applicable on a case-by-case basis?
Thank you, Chairperson. Commissioners, partly it means that, but correctly so. It means the analysis-led approach is also on a case-to-case basis. To explain it further, is we moved away from the investigators-led investigation. We moved towards analysis-led. Hence, even now, our made up mainly of different analysts that are leading the investigating team towards the direction that is directed by the information at hand, starting from the initial statement from the docket, which operational analysis point of view, but then we'll line up then all the analysis capabilities that are available in the South African Police Service that we know they are there. Your forensic analyst, your ballistic analyst, your call data analyst, your communication analyst, all these different types, your financial statement analyst, we brought them then as the plan for the investigation of each and every case moves. Each and every analyst will be able to deposit their input for the operational analysts then to look at the holistic picture and be able to direct the investigation of each in the right direction.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, General. Am I right that you will be dealing with this in more detail with reference to SDK 4, which is the Integrated Strategic Plan for Investigation and Prosecution of Politically Related Cases, the PKTT. So you will come back to the question that the Chair asked later on in your evidence with reference to your plan. Is that right?
That's correct, Commissioners.
Thank you. So we're still in the background. Can you explain your background in crime intelligence? So that would be paragraph 17 onwards. I think that's where you were. If there's something you wish to say before you get there, you're free to do so.
I can proceed to paragraph 17, Commissioners.
Sorry, you skipped 15. May or may not be relevant.
I thought, Khumalo. So before we get there, can you deal with paragraphs 15 and 16?
Thank you, Commissioners. Paragraph 15 and 16 are the extension of the explanation as to how we assess the analysis-led investigation that was implemented.
I'm sorry, Advocate Hassim. I'm very sorry, General. You were at 14 and I'm the one who moved you away from that after asking you about the analysis-led. There's something that I consider quite important, which is your last sentence of paragraph 14, the one starting the adoption of this multi. I want to read that into the record.
So that's the last sentence of paragraph 14.
Thank you, Commissioners. The adoption of this multidisciplinary national task team underpinned by the five-pillar approach that is coming from the both proactive and reactive activities or operations in the SAPS were not so effective. The five-pillar approach became also the basis of the approach in the analysis-led approach, links, task team, and proved highly effective, and as it is now regarded as the benchmark for tackling contract killings of any kind.
That's fine.
Often we are citing one other example of how effective is this analysis-led investigation coupled with the five-pillar approach can be utilized in any other organized crime approach investigation. With same political killings task team was assigned in the University of Fort Hare to investigate a series of murder and attempted murder cases that are totally not related to the political environment or killings. There were incidents where the university officials and staff were targeted. It is jurisdictions utilizing the same analysis led in the Eastern Cape, where then this approach proved to be effective and proved that it can be utilized in any investigation of contract killings and political killings. I will dwell much on the investigation or the extension of the mandate of the political killings task team to the Eastern Cape, more specifically, University of Fort Hare later on. Chair.
Can I ask you, General Khumalo, was there already an investigation ongoing in the East regard to the University of Fort Hare, or were you, as the PKTT, brought in to begin investigating?
Thank you, Chair. It's one of the yardsticks that we use of the approach, because as was the case in the PKTT KZN, the cases that were assigned to the team were the cases that have been investigated before, either by the general detectives at station level or organized crime units then at provincial level. So the cases that were referred to the team were the cases that have been investigated before at station and provincial level.
And why do you emphasize that? Why do you emphasize that these would be cases that had been investigated in the convention by some specialized units, but were then taken over or given to the PKTT? What's the significance of that? The historical aspect of them having been investigated by some other SAPS entity before.
Thank you, Commissioner. I emphasize that because I am still in the effectiveness of this analysis-led investigation to prove that investigations on the same case that were done utilizing the traditional way of investigation seems. Hence, then, as we implemented it in KZN and it became successful, and we were roped in the Eastern Cape, it also became successful. Hence, then, we concluded that it is the effective approach on the investigation, more especially of organized contract killings.
I thought that's where you wanted to go, but you kept silent at some point.
You anticipated my question, Chair.
My apologies.
Are you satisfied with the answer?
I was too quick to the draw, I guess. No, I'm satisfied. Thank you.
Thank you. General, can you explain for the Commission your background in crime intel? So now we will be dealing with paragraph 17 to 19 of your statement.
Thank you, Commissioners. As I've indicated before, that I was appointed as the Divisional Commissioner of Crime Intelligence in December 2022. This is the environment of my earlier career period. It is normally referred to as non-commissioned period from the rank of a sergeant up until then the rank of a junior officer, a captain. I was in intelligence environment. And also between the year 2011 and 2012, I was appointed, I was by that time then at the level of a brigadier within the division operational response services. But between the years, I was appointed as the acting head of counter and security intelligence in the division crime intelligence.
Sorry, Advocate Asim, can I just get clarity on this? General, as Divisional Commander of Crime Intelligence and Project Lead of PKTT, where were you based? Were you in KZN or in Pretoria? Your intro that the crime syndicates had mistakenly assumed that the PKTT was investigating them in Gauteng, specifically in Johannesburg. So I just want to get clarity. Where were you based throughout this period, let's say from 2022 to 2024?
Thank you, Commissioners. Between the period 2022 to date, or to 2024, I was based in Pretoria as the Divisional Commissioner Crime Intelligence full-time. And I was also still the project coordinator of the political killings task team.
No longer coordinator, General. You were coordinator and team when General, who is it,
Ramatswele
retired. You were coordinator before that and you became the leader. You referred to yourself as coordinator in 2022 to 2024.
Yes, Chair, maybe then it was my mistake that the fact that when I was made the project leader, I was not stripped of the title of being the project coordinator, which then happened to combine being both the coordinator and the leader.
Okay. But it's just that you differentiated between coordinator and leader. When the PKTT was established, you were the coordinator and you said you then became the leader when General Ramatswele retired in September of 2018. So my understanding then was that there were two positions, one of coordinator and one of leader. So that's, as I say, it's not significant, and I just corrected you when you still referred to yourself as the coordinator. When you said since September 2018, you have now been the leader and no longer just the coordinator. As I say, let's not get bogged down by that. It's not significant.
Perhaps I could ask one follow-up question on that, Chair. When you became project leader, when you Major General Ramatswele retired, was anyone appointed as the role of project coordinator?
Thank you, Chair. Maybe then let me link the current period 2022 to 2024 with the yesteryears. We all understand. In 2018, I was holding a rank of a brigadier. It was my co-function to coordinate all national operations. I was the national operations, hence then I had to resume that role, that initial role in the political killings task team from July 2018. And then when General Ramatswele retired, I was then appointed to be the project leader, which coincided with my promotion general's level, the level where General Ramatswele was when he was a leader. And my post then was above the National Operations Coordinator at national level. I was the head of national operations, and then head of both national operations planning and national operations monitoring. So I was then appointed to the level above the coordinator of national operations. Hence, then the coordination part of doing at a brigadier's level, I was still doing it now as the leader of the operation at a major general's level.
So there wasn't another person who was appointed, is the answer. Thank you. I think you were dealing with paragraph 17 when the question arose. Can you continue from there?
Yes. Thank you, Commissioners. On paragraph 18.
Sorry, General. On paragraph 17, that when you, prior to your appointment as the Divisional Commissioner Crime Intelligence, the division was beset by numerous challenges. What challenges were you faced with? You then go on to say that you introduced a management style to deal with this, but perhaps you could just explain what the challenges were when you took that office.
Thank you, Commissioners. Maybe then if I a little bit coming to the question, starting or linking it up with my acting period between 2011 and 2012 as the acting component head within Crime Intelligence Division. Here, Commissioners, I'll attach names during that period. It is the period when the current Provincial Commissioner of KwaZulu-Natal was the acting National Commissioner. And the current National Commissioner was the acting Divisional Commissioner of Crime Intelligence. And the current Divisional Commissioner of Crime Intelligence was the acting within Division Crime Intelligence. That is between 2011 and 2012. The reason why I reversed a little bit before I come to my second homecoming from 2022, I want to highlight the issues that will then help us understand the paragraph 18 on my affidavit. During that spell between 2011 and 2012, a time when the division was in the public space for more negative reasons than positive. One might say similar to what we experienced since the beginning of this year. The critical issues, without explaining them, they are reflected on the state capture report that are talking specifically to the division, crime intelligence. So during 2011 and 2012, there were attempts by the acting management that have cited a stop to most of the issues that were negatively affecting the environment. To sum them up, there was a misuse of resources as well as methodologies of the environment. And then during those acting attempts were made to correct all those mistakes. If I may refer to the testimony by the then acting National Commissioner who came before this commission as the Provincial Commissioner KwaZulu-Natal and expanded more on the happenings and experiences in relation to crime intelligence. So the division was attempting to move away from those situations, but then unfortunately it did not happen because all the acting heads that I've cited then happened then to be moved away prior to the finalization of that project of trying to turn the environment around.
If your reference to those that were acting includes General Mkhwanazi, I understood him to say that he decided to leave. You have said those that were acting were moved. So that would not quite accord with what he said, which is that he decided to leave the position of acting National Commissioner. Unless I misunderstood him or I've forgotten his testimony in this regard.
Yes, in his testimony, it is exactly like the commissioner is reflecting, decided to move, but not out of free will. So it was the case with also the two of us, the same situation.
Thank you. I interrupted you, I'm sorry.
Yes. I was tempted to reflect on the 2011-2012, so as then when I approached 2022, now when I'm appointed the divisional commissioner, firstly to say, maybe let me quote the words of the current national commissioner during my appointment.
Where are you quoting from, General? You're quoting from the National Commissioner's statement, or?
No, not the statement.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not in the statement. I'm quoting the words during my appointment as I'm approaching then when I was appointed. Why I'm quoting his words is because I want to tie it up with 2011-2012 when he said, go back there, but you must know that everything that you had implemented by then was reversed within 2 months of your departure. So as you go back there, you will start from scratch. Now I'm going to paragraph 18 to status of the division and the program that was put in place then since December 2022.
General, you in that paragraph 17, and remember that not everybody has got your statement, and you're missing stuff that we think is critical. In that paragraph 17, you do explain how you end up as Divisional Commissioner Crime Intelligence, and then you have spoken to the problems that beset, but then you leave out the last sentence. You don't explain what happens after you came into a division that was beset with problems. I think you should complete the paragraph.
Thank you, Commissioner. To complete my paragraph 17, I am submitting that in the division, I introduced a management style that has since proven effective, resulting in enhanced stability and level, and also in the improved status of compliance with various policies, as well as the cessation of resources and crime intelligence methodologies abuse.
Thank you.
Continuing then to paragraph 18, under my leadership of the division, currently the operational performance has improved significantly. In particular, when one refers to the that are identified at SAPS level or AOP, talking to organized crime priorities. We have also managed to foster stronger relations with other operational environments, also of oversight bodies from the Joint Standing Committee on Intelligence at Parliament level, the Auditor General of South Africa, as well as the Office of the Inspector General of Intelligence. The reports for the past 2 years, they bear testimony to the improvement.
What is the operational?
The operational environments, commissioners, I'm referring to both proactive as well as reactive environments of policing.
General, could you be more specific? So if you're talking about reactive environment, are you talking about prosecution? To be more specific.
To be more specific, commissioners, the proactive environment refers to what is normally known as visible policing, crime prevention, and then the reactive normally talks to the investigation of crime, because our main purpose as crime intelligence is to provide actionable intelligence to both of those environments, successful policing. In paragraph 19, in closing on the discussion of my role within crime intelligence, they just highlight the broader scope of my contribution in the service, in the South African Police Service, in line with the Constitution of the Republic as well as the South African Police Act. Throughout my distinguish myself by delivering service of particular meritorious as well as exemplary nature, which is characterized by being resourceful, also characterized by correct leadership as well as profound sense of duty. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, General, and a little soon, because you continue to set out a bit more of your background and your leadership role. But I think that the contents of paragraph 19 are understood. from paragraph 20, you wished to set out your formal qualifications. So as I understand it, your SAPS 96 that you've sets out your service background, but not your academic qualifications outside of your service, in-service training, if I can put it that way. Is that correct?
That's correct, Commissioners.
Okay, so can you describe for the Commission your formal qualifications?
The formal qualifications that I possess are the Bachelor of Arts in Police Science with the University of South Africa, as well as the certificate in Refugee Law and Humanitarian Support, still with the University of South Africa, from the George C. Marshall for the European Center for Security Studies. The program there was the Security, Stability, Transition, and Reconstruction that I attended then in Germany. And the copy of my CV is attached as SDK 2.
Thank you. Can you then turn to the next ship? And if you could just focus for now on paragraphs 22 to 26.
Thank you, Commissioners. My role within SAPS leadership currently as a Divisional Commissioner of Crime Intelligence, I am responsible for the management of the processing process, which starts with the collection to the analysis and dissemination of intelligence to support the crime prevention, combating, and investigations within SAPS. This role, it involves overseeing the gathering component of the intelligence processing, as well as the analysis distribution within our distribution centers. Moving to paragraph 23, highlighting my key responsibilities. Firstly, in terms of the National Strategic Intelligence Act, those are the responsibilities of any divisional commissioner of crime intelligence within the South African Police Service. In other words, the appointment or the incumbent of the office of the divisional commissioner is firstly in terms of Section 2010, which gives then the powers, the functions, and the monitoring of intelligence services in the country, including those services, intelligence services of the South African Police Service. And then coupled with, as I've referred, there is Section 2(3) of the National Strategic Intelligence Act of 1994 that provides for the establishment of the SAPS crime intelligence to gather, to correlate, and to evaluate the intelligence in support of the functions of the SAPS. Before, with the list of the key responsibilities from paragraph 23.1 to 23.8, Commissioners, so as I go through the results that I need to explain the modalities of accountability within the environment. I referred to the environment as established in terms of the Constitution as well as the SAPS Act, and also in terms of the Act. That then will tell us that the SAPS crime intelligence accounts for both overt related activities together with all other South African Police Service divisions to the Portfolio Committee of Police in Parliament, accounting for Program 4 of and the very same division, because of its establishment under the National Strategic Intelligence Act of 1994, together with other intelligence agencies. It also accounts now for covert-related activities to the Joint Standing Committee on Intelligence at Cabinet or Parliament level. Going back to my responsibility as listed on paragraph 23 of my affidavit. First one is the intelligence management that talks to the whole intelligence cycle from cause dissemination. The second responsibility talks to the strategic oversight, where the environment is expected to collect and package strategic intelligence for the provisioning of such intelligence to the National Intelligence Coordination Center, together with all other intelligence agencies. Actionable intelligence to the crime prevention and investigation, and to manage the resources, both overt and covert, and also to liaise and coordinate with other foreign intelligence agencies through the platforms that are in place, and also the SADC region coordination of intelligence. As I've reflected, the key responsibility is talking to the dissemination or ensuring that the intelligence products are disseminated then to operational and at strategic level. The other key responsibility is to ensure compliance with legal requirements, both on Program 4 or within SAPS, and also the legal requirements then that are guiding the intelligence agencies of the country, and to ensure that there is support services then that is the environment of the division.
You can continue.
In explaining those key responsibilities, commissioners, one will then deduct that it means crime intelligence remains PS operations. More especially if we look at the shift of our traditional crime threat analysis, moving or leaning more on organized crime, that then will tell us that this is the crucial time where then the effective will be required. Without getting into details on paragraph 25, I am indicating that crime intelligence utilize both conventional and unconventional methods in terms of collecting intelligence for operational purposes. In paragraph 26, also, which is in line with my conclusion as per the previous stanza on my affidavit, my extensive experience within the division crime intelligence to address the critical issues, more especially that are referring to the infiltration of both the division as well as the South African Police Service by criminal cartels. Having served in these key leadership roles and all intelligence operations, I've gained in-depth understanding of sophisticated methods that are applied nowadays with organized crime groupings to compromise the operations of South African Police Service as well as the operations of the division itself. This background allows me to identify vulnerabilities and implement the most effective countermeasures, and also because one of our responsibilities as the division crime intelligence is to implement counter-intelligence measures that are directed towards protecting the operations service from both the internal within SAPS and outside of SAPS from making our operations then unsuccessful.
You mean the internal and external threats
Yes.
to the work of the SAPS? Okay.
Yes, sir. It is very unfortunate, commissioners, that nowadays these 2 points of threats made possible with the strength of the internal part. The interventions in the SAPS have never been so important like nowadays because of the level of threats that are from within the department or the organization itself. On my next part of the statement, on the PKTT, its establishment, expanding on its working model as well as successes, and also to demonstrate the reasons related to the ineffectiveness that have never been seen in political killings task team as a reason for its disbandment. Thank you, Chair.
General Khumalo, before you turn to the establishment of the PKTT, when you speak of the threat being so pronounced, is that related to the evidence you in Part B of your statement, and perhaps in camera? Is that what you mean by the threats? Will you be speaking to those?
That is very correct, Commissioners. It refers to the level of internal threats that are making it easier for the external threats to thrive, more especially facing the levels of organized crime that we have to deal with within the country. And it will be contained in my further evidence that I will produce then when I talk to the infiltration of SAPS. Thank you, Chair.
And now to the topic of the establishment of the task team. And you can begin with, from paragraph 27.
Thank you, Commissioners. Talking to the formation of the political background thereof, was made, also was placed before this commission by the National Commissioner as well as the Provincial Commissioner of KwaZulu-Natal, and I can confirm that the political established at a time when then these political killing incidents were increasing in KwaZulu-Natal during the period leading up to 2018, roughly from the year 2011, when then there was a need for the establishment of this political killings task team. Following the directive by the President of the Republic when establishing the interministerial committee that was specifically mandated to ensure that there is accountability for these politically motivated incidents. The IMC then was established by the President, which was made up of the ministers from the State Security Agency, the defense and military veterans, the police, as well as justice, which by then was still a one department. The IMC was chaired or led by the Minister of Police, who was then, during the time of establishment, General Begicele. The IMC was mandated the accountability for these incidents, but most importantly, to ensure that there is corroborative effort between the national as well as provincial governments in terms of dealing with these issues. Commissioners, maybe then I will take an opportunity in paragraph 29 to 30 to explain the common thing that we have seen and heard around the establishment of this political killings task team. There is a perception that talks to this politically as formed as part of response to the findings of the Moerane Commission of inquiry into political killings in the same province of KwaZulu-Natal, which is not the case or not correct. As far as I recall of the initial stages of the political killings task team in July 2018, the Moerane Commission findings were only published in 2019, when the political killings task team was in place or established already. As I've indicated, the political killings task team started in May 2018 with the planning and also putting together the resources that will be utilized. Hence, then it commenced its operations in July. Of course, findings that came after the team was already established. One of the findings talks to the loss of public confidence in the criminal justice system in that province in relation to these cases that are politically related in nature. As part talks to the importance of recruiting and training as well as deploying police officers that will be able or that are properly qualified to deal with the situation as it was the case then, as I've indicated, from 2018. One can safely say that it happened that most of the recommendations by Moerane Commission were implemented in advance by the political killings task team, which was already in place, in our initial threat and risk assessment of the threat that we had to deal with, which is political.
General, did the Moerane Commission, did it consider the work of the PKTT at all? Or the PKTT as an organization at all?
One can speculate, commissioners, that it did. The political killings task team was already in place when then the commission was still continuing. There were participants to the commission that were also part of the political killings task team leadership.
Thanks, General. Would it be correct then to say that the extracts that you've quoted from the Commission from the way you were observing in your leadership role as the PKT? Would that be correct?
Yes, Commissioners, that will be correct. As we along implementing our concepts within the political killings task team, we were also putting the Moerane Commission findings and recommendations on the table, so as then we can see that we are not off track, that are talking to the recommendations of Moerane Commission that were implemented after the Moerane Commission's report.
Thank you. Can you go to paragraph 31 then, D4, where you speak about the constitution of the PKT?
Thank you, Commissioners. On paragraph 31, I am submitting that the political killings task team was established and constituted administratively by the National Commission, which was by then the retired General Sithole. And it was not created through any legislation or regulations. It was, and it is still one of the be established by the National Commissioner from time to time. It was established as an ad hoc intervention to deal with the threat of political killings in the province, focusing, of course, then, as I've hinted earlier on, that the mandate of the political killings task team will now and again be extended then to other provinces and to other threats other than the political killings. On paragraph 32.
Can I just check something with you, General? Does that apply to all other task teams that you are aware of? Are they usually established by national commissioners?
That is correct, Commissioners, the task teams, maybe before I get straight to the question, let me refer to the background of this particular politics, a provincial task team that was in place in KZN dealing with the same matters, which was not established by the IMC. It was established by the provincial commissioner in consultation with the national commissioner, provincial based and using the provincial resources. Then when the matter or the issue of political killings caught the president's eyes or the national level eyes, the president appointed the IMC because the province as well as the provincial SAPS seemed to be failing to address the problem. Hence, then, when it was escalated to national, it was the national commissioner who had to establish or upgrade the provincial task team to the national task team, which was going to be overseen by the IMC that was established by the president.
The question, more pertinently, as I understand it, is whether other task teams were also set up in the same way, National Commissioner.
Yes.
I see that it's 11 o'clock. General, I trust that you will remember what the question was and respond at 11:15, or Advocate Hassim will repeat the question. Let us adjourn until 11:15.
Off, please. We're about to start. Thank you.
Yes, Advocate Hassim.
Chair, when we left off, the witness was about to answer a question, and the question, General, is you were discussing the point you make at paragraph 31 about the team being constituted administratively by the National Commissioner, whether this is how other task teams, national task teams have been constituted, or is it only the PKTT?
Thank you, Commissioners. All the task teams are constituted administratively by the National Commissioner, who has to assign the resources to the task team, including financial resources. IMC is appointed or established by the President. It's appointed at a cabinet level to ensure that the resources of national are then also taken down to a province where then the National Commissioner has and security measures that are talking to the identified threat or complaint.
So the answer to the question is yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Ms. Hassim, if I may, if I can just take you one question back because of an explanation that you gave later on. I asked the question whether the MOI considered the role and the work of the PKTT. I just want to clarify, when you said PKTT, there was participation, did you mean the PKTT is now constituted in 2018 or the provincial task team that participated?
Thank you, Chair. The provincial task team that was in place when the Morane Commission was constituted and looking at the political killings incidents that the provincial killings task team was working on, they were participating at this to provincial government, to the Morane Commission.
So that takes us to paragraph 33. Can you elaborate on that, please, for the Commission?
Thank you, Commissioners. Paragraph 32 talks to the second level of the strategy when then the IMC integrated strategic plan needs now to be developed so as then other criminal justice stakeholders can be part of the intervention. Then that strategic plan was then approved by the IMC, which was then talking to the two main stakeholders, which is South African National Prosecuting Authority, taking a leading role in the development and implementation of such strategy. Moving to paragraph 33, one is highlighting the fact that the operational level or operational wing of this intervention was overseen by the National Steering Committee at national level, the IMC, as well as the Presidency of South Africa, of the Republic of South Africa, that had established the Interministerial Committee.
And what do you mean by overseen in this context?
The overseen by the National Steering Committee, I'm referring to the fact that the resources that were deployed in the PKTT since July 2028 were no longer the provincial resources, but were national. That is why then the National Steering Committee had to oversee and account for the deployment of those resources.
Thank you. Thank you. Can you conclude then on paragraph 34?
The PKTT that was operating in KwaZulu-Natal under my direct supervision, as well as Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi as the Provincial Commissioner, focused on addressing politically motivated incidents in that province of KwaZulu-Natal, as I've said, directed by the National Steering Committee and then accountable to the Interministerial Committee as well as to the President. And then in the Eastern Cape, the PKTT investigated crimes within the University of Fort Hare as designated or directed by the National.
What does that entail? PKTT operates primarily in KwaZulu-Natal under my supervision. What does that supervision entail? As I understood your earlier answer, you were based in Pretoria and the PKTT operated in KZN initially. So what was the nature of your supervision of the PKTT? Was it merely reporting or what did it involve exactly?
One of the good practices that we have implemented in the political killings task team is to improve on accountability, which talks to continuous reporting. I will explain that when I get reporting structures, but it means that even if you are not physically in the operational area, you are still supervising and giving guidance because you are getting daily reports that the activities as well as the feedback on each and every activity.
So practically, how would you do that if you are in Pretoria?
Based in Pretoria, I still receive those daily reports. I'm still able to guide the investigations with continuous interaction with the commander, operational commander that is on the ground now and again if there is a need. But then there are those periodical visits that one will pay to the team.
General, the minister, you say at the time the minister was Minister Cele when the PKTT was established. In your recollection, did Minister Cele, outside the Real Committee, did he give any directions to the PKTT, instructions or guidance outside of the component of the IMC?
According to my recollection and my knowledge as I've been there were no instructions that will come from the minister as a chair, the chair as well as the IMC, they will receive the progress report from the political killings task team on continuous basis.
General, we're going to be going through a section now. You deal with the issue of reporting structures. As you do so, could you provide the Commission with how often these structures reported to each other and what the reporting line was? So you would begin now at paragraph 35.
From paragraph 35, where we are talking to the reporting structures of the political killings task team, as it's always, or it's part of the 5-pillar approach, that you first determine the mission or operational area was the province of KwaZulu-Natal. Now, for the proper implementation of the strategy, it has got that requirement that you need to cut your mission area into small, manageable parts, so as then you are able to be everywhere. In the mode of, I will refer to the SAPS, the organization that I know very well, that is represented or that is managed at national level, but represented then up to grassroots or station level. So our approach in this project was the same. We province as the mission area as it was affected by these incidents, and then we divided the province into 4 parts, which are the south coast of the province, the north coast, the Midlands, and the central part. And then we had 2 teams in those areas that will be responsible for the daily activities which are reported on daily basis at the mission area coordination center that is, or that was situated then at the...
So did those smaller units, the tactical joint operational centers, report to the mission area joint operational center, or how did that work and how often?
On that we were and are still implementing the analysis-led investigation. So at the level, we will have then the commanders that are experts on each and every part of, firstly, analysis. The different parts of analysis, there will be commanders at a mission area level, as well as the commander of investigations at that head office level to give guidance to these 4 teams. But the same structure and expertise that are found at mission area level will be duplicated at all tactical level, those 4 small manageable structures, so as then they are able to give guidance also at that level.
Thank you. I'm just trying to get a sense of practically, I understand what you're saying about giving guidance, but practically, how would that work? How often would they meet, for example?
Okay. Thank you, Commissioners. As I've indicated earlier on, that one of the best practices or pillars of this approach, firstly, it on command and control. It emphasize more on discipline. It emphasizes more on accountability, irrespective of the level. You may be at a very lower level of SAPS, but you are still accountable for each and every action or tasking or activity that is expected of you. So that is done on daily basis at a tactical level. And then on daily basis, the commanders there will submit the report at mission area, head office level. So the mission is continuously or daily. And then once a week, then they will have that extended mission area meeting where the 4 commanders will sit with the commanders at mission area level to plan for the week or month. In other words, they will be giving the directives so as then at tactical level, then they are able to give those daily taskings that are inputting into the medium-term directive given every week.
Thank you. So that's the at operational level, and then in paragraph lines above the operation, well, from the MAJOC upwards. So can you take the Commission through that, please?
Thank you, Chair. Maybe then to explain paragraph 36 properly, so I will start from where I ended with the force in the province that are reporting on daily basis to the mission area. And then the mission area, they will consolidate the weekly reports. At tactical level, it's daily reports. And then at the end of the week, the mission area in preparation for the weekly meeting so as they are able to guide the lower level. And then the MAJOC or the mission area will then report to the provincial steering committee and then and thereafter together with the leader of the operation will report then to the national steering committee. During the years, the previous years, the reportings to the provincial steering committee as well as the national steering committees, it was always every time there will be an interministerial committee. So at root level, we'll be having the common understanding on the progress in preparation for the reporting to the interministerial committee.
Thank you. Is there anything further on those reporting structures? If not, then we can go to the organogram.
Commissioners, if I may indicate the importance of these reportings, I've touched on the main purpose of the 4 small manageable teams reporting on daily basis to the mission area command structure. The further reporting, it's not only about like to the provincial steering committee as well as the national steering committee, it's mainly to escalate the challenges that cannot be attended to or at provincial or at MAJOC, at the mission area level, so can intervene. Same applies then to the National Steering Committee that is responsible for the deployment of the national competencies. Same applies then to the IMC. I will make an example of the report that was made to the IMC, escalating the challenges that were coming from tactical level, the 4 small manageable areas, to the mission area and they were not successfully resolved, and then they were moved to national steering committee up until the IMC. Those challenges are contained in a letter that was compiled, citing all the challenges, which was then signed off by the chairperson of the Interministerial Committee to attend to those issues that could not be addressed at operational level. The letter, I'm not sure whether it's attached, letter that was referred to under oath by both the DPP KwaZulu-Natal as well as the Provincial Commissioner KwaZulu-Natal, the letter that was signed by the former chairperson of the IMC.
I don't
Just a letter that I remember that was signed by then Minister Ele, which was referred to by the KZN Director of Public Prosecutions, is a letter which, on my understanding, preceded General Cele, or rather Minister Cele in that letter was highlighting all the problems, even referring to 2012 cases, I think, all the way up to about 2018 cases. So basically saying these are the problems that have been encountered with regard to all these cases. And after all the engagements that was formed. Now, I understand you now to be mentioning this letter in the context of an already existing PKT, and I'm a bit confused.
Thank you, Chair. As I've indicated, that the preparations, the assessment, started during May, when the National Task Team was preparing to come on board. Then from May, June, July, the letter, when the task team was already on the ground. So most, if not all of the challenges were experienced by the task team at operational level that were escalated throughout up until the IMC level.
General, with this...
It's a pity we don't, and I would have been very interested in its date so as to relate it to the date, of the formation of the PKTT. Are our techies in a position in the dates, that's all?
And while we're trying to find that, would this question also be answered through your annexure SDK3, which is the information note that was to report on the challenges and what needs to happen going forward? And we can deal with it when we come to that annexure, perhaps, which is quite soon. DK3. I forgot it. General, the letter is now available. It might be easier for you to look at it at the screen just behind you.
I see it's 24 May 2019, so the PKTT already exists.
Yes, Chair.
As I said, I'm probably confused. It seems, I should not even say it seems, it's clear that I was. Sorry about that, General.
Chair, if I could I pause for 1 minute I actually intended to hand up as an exhibit for the assistance of the commissioners, and I think it was going to become even more important as we continue with this witness, a working chronology. And so as to where the witness's testimony fits in the overall timeline of events. May I seek leave to hand up that as exhibit CJC1? Thank you, Chair. Okay, so if we may then just revert to the paragraph where the witness was addressing the question of reporting lines of the PKTT, which was paragraph 36. And General, you've covered this, but could you also explain to us how often the IMC met? How often would there be reports to the IMC, and for what purpose? Was it for policy guidance, or can you just be a bit explicit about that?
Thank you, Chair. Killings testing level, we were not privy to the scheduled meetings by the Inter-Ministerial Committee. We'll get the notification as then it will be inviting us to. But based on the experience and being involved, there were meetings, one maybe twice per year on the initial stages up until 2020 as a result of COVID-19. And then one will remember very well from our side that there was no IMC during that time. And then afterwards, and then the committee resumes to meet at provincial and national steering committee, as I've indicated. Mainly, the National Steering Committee will meet when there will be IMC. But most importantly, towards the end of the deployment period, and then the National Steering Committee will sit and assess the performance and get a detailed threat and risk assessment so as they are able to take it extending the project or not.
Thank you.
General, when you say end of deployment, you mean the end of the authorized period?
Yes, Commissioners.
Okay.
So at the end of each, as the end of the authorized period was drawing closer, there would be a report on whether there's a need for the extension of the work of the PKTT, in essence.
Yes, Commissioner, that will be the case because the National Steering Committee is made up of national directors generals, resources. That meeting will take place towards the end of each financial year, so as then they can determine firstly, the need for the extension so as then they can inform the IMC in advance of the extension or termination risk assessment. That will be the practice then each and every financial year.
Thank you. Your next topic then is on the organogram and the structure of the PKTT, but you begin with the work that was already ongoing by the provincial team and the challenges. So can you start at paragraph 38?
Thank you, Chair. As I've indicated briefly when I'm discussing this part of the establishment of the National Political Killings Task Team, that the IMC was formed 2018, and then the IMC had their initial meetings in May as well as June, when they went down to the province of KwaZulu-Natal to assess the interventions that were in place addressing the complaint or that has been raised by the president. And then they received briefings from the provincial task team by then. During those two initial IMCs, where then they will do the assessment, and then one of their that task team was working in silos, and the members that were deployed in that task team, as they were from local level, they were compromised, and that more especially it did not have an investigation or strategy. That as a result, then there was little or no progress in the investigation and prosecution of these cases. The point that I highlighted earlier on as to what is it that the National Task Team had to put in place in order to correct. I touched on the plan by the Political Killings Task Team that was informed by the 5-pillar approach, which was confirmed as a solution to most of the problems that were identified by the IMC. One can add that that happened at a time, I saw during the testimony by the Provincial Commissioner, Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi, when he highlighted that the establishment of the National Political Killing Task Team coincided with his acting period in the province. And I was also seconded to the province, not for political operations in the office of the Provincial Commissioner. So the movement from the Provincial Task Team to the National Political Killing Task Team was overseen by myself. Hence, then it was to compile the strategy because the strategy was emanating from the tried and tested 5-pillar approach that has been proven to be successful during the wildlife trafficking interventions. Plan was then implemented in KZN.
Thank you. So can I take you to your annexure SDK3, because that speaks directly to the implementation of the strategy that you just referred to. And this is the information note, as I understand it correctly, is prepared by well, you can say who prepared.
The information note was prepared and compiled by Brigadier S.D. Khumalo, who happens to be the Lieutenant General Khumalo, the witness to the commission on the 15th of June 2018.
You, in other words.
Me.
It was prepared by you. Thank you. You could just read paragraph 3 of the first page.
Paragraph 3 of the first page.
Sorry, General, before you do that, and for purpose of the record, so that when we later look at this, there's no confusion, Ms. Hassan, it indicates, the document indicates the signature of Mkwanazi NS. And then as you page through, unless I miss it, I don't see General Khumalo as one of the parties presenting, preparing. Well, what does it mean, General, that you prepared and yet it is signed by?
Thank you, Commissioners. The current operational or administrative guidelines in the SAPS, in line with the command and control, the compiler of the plan, because this was the plan, attach the signature on the communication of the plan. You will only attach the signature on the plan itself that will be used at operational level, because it will be your plan. But then the plan that is inclusive of other strategic decisions then will be signed by the accounting officer of that particular environment. In this case, it was the acting professor.
Commissioner Baloy, could I ask you to turn to page 22, and that might answer your question. It's not page 22 of the information note. So I believe it's the last page.
I see that.
At the bottom, it indicates information note. Yes.
Thank you for that.
Sorry, to go back to where you were, General, you were talking about implementation of a new strategy now, right? Could you please read paragraph 3 on page of the first page of the information note?
Paragraph 3 of paragraph 2 under background reads, the IMC in full interministerial committee met that was investigating these cases on the 21st of May 2018, and one of the preliminary observations was that this multidisciplinary task team was working in silos and that it does not have an investigation and prosecutorial plan or to the overall government priorities contained in the National Development Plan 2030, the medium-term strategic framework, and other key policy prescripts of creating safe and secure environment.
Thank you. And then on of that bundle, so 2 pages over, is paragraph 3 addressing then the proposed strategy? Is that what is being set out in paragraph 3? And related to that, is this your 5-pillar approach?
Thank you, Commissioners. Yes, that is having a heading, the operational approach and concepts. It talks to the approach that I've explained of the establishment of the mission area and tactical areas, and lists the competencies or expertise that will be needed in terms of the 5-pillar approach to implement the plan.
Thank you. And if we then turn to page 19 to begin with.
Can I just ask, sorry, I do apologize for this delayed question. General, in where you set out the pillars, and that's bullet point 3, and then there is a sub-bullet there, which is the second one, the second sub-bullet, and then the second one is NIU and TRT to implement. You see that? You see where I'm referring?
Yes.
Yes. Are you able, without disclosing anything that you shouldn't be disclosing, if there are any anxieties coming from my question, why it is that it is the NIU and TRT that are deployed for this kind of project as against the usual policing units? That, and I ask because they both in urban legend have a reputation of being tough, and when they appear, no nonsense. We are told to stop our nonsense when they appear. Is there a particular reason that it is these units that are being used?
Commissioner, maybe let me start by highlighting the difference between, on the 5-pillar approach, the proactive as well as combat approach. Proactive is your normal crime prevention capability, and that's starting from the public order policing to TRT, the specialized uniform. The specialized uniform then in terms of training. So coming back to the question as to why in this case, Pillar 1 talks to crime intelligence. That is the pillar that will be deployed in advance in any operation to conduct a thorough threat and risk assessment that will help the determination of the deployment capabilities. So in this case, risk assessment that was conducted, then it was determined that the proper and suitable level of deployment from the specialized uniform will be from tactical response units and national intervention units.
Thank you, Commissioner Baloyi. I think that it's a question that we will return to again as we go through the work of this. So, General, at page 19 is the recommendation to implement the strategy that was outlined in the preceding pages. Is that right?
That is correct, Commissioner.
The second recommendation is for a budget to be approved for the operationalization of that plan. Is that correct?
That is correct, Commissioner.
And the amount for that budget, can you just let us know?
Estimated budget for that initial deployment of the political clearance task team was at 49.1 million for the period of 6 months.
And from what budget was that to be drawn?
It was going to be from the national budget as the plan and the implementation, as well as the recommendations and the request for these resources, because the plan and the request was for resources personnel as well as financial resources to the national budget.
So the request was for the budget to be approved as a national budget, and that's indeed what then followed. Is that correct? On pages 20 and 21, the signatures.
That is correct, Chairperson.
So that deals with your annexure SDK 3 and paragraph 38. I think now where your statement intends to go is to the setup of the structure of the team. Is that correct?
That is correct, Commissioners. On the paragraph, after the approval, we are indicating that indeed then from July 18, then we started then implementing the structures as I explained earlier on.
Can you then turn to paragraph 40? And maybe you could just read paragraph 40 and then we can go to annexure SDK 4.
Paragraph 40 reads thus: to enable the political killings task team to function as a multidisciplinary team, including personnel from relevant law and agencies, an investigative and prosecutorial strategy was developed. Such strategy is attached as annexure SDK 4.
And is this strategy then meant to address the lack of coordination between different stakeholders or different agencies within law enforcement?
The integrated plan attached as SDK 4 is now meant at improving the coordination, streamlining the activities, criminal justice system stakeholders, as I reflected earlier on that the main stakeholder was National Prosecuting Authority, which were then part of this integrated plan.
Thank you. So if you can turn to SDK 4, particularly after you deal with background, at page 27, you explain the objectives of the strategy. Can you take the Commission through that, please?
The objectives of the strategy, Commissioners, was to investigate and prosecute reported incidents of politically-related cases in KwaZulu-Natal, to implement the multidisciplinary Troika methodology consisting of intelligence gathering, crime investigation, and prosecution. Perpetrators of politically related cases are arrested and prosecuted as speedily as possible to instill the public confidence as well as stability, to identify and successfully prosecute the kingpins or masterminds cases, and lastly, to optimize the provision of witness protection program.
Thank you. So the approach, as we're learning, is different from the, and that brings us back to the question that emanated from Commissioner Baloy, and specifically on page, just need to find it. fine. It's actually not in this annexure. It's in a later annexure. I'll come back to the point about the approach and the use of different agencies. Can you then take us to paragraph 44?
Thank you.
Of your statement.
Commissioners, paragraph 44 reflects to the mandate for the political killings task team. As I've hinted during my introduction, that it happened that during the year 2023, from the Vice Chancellor of the University of Fort Hare about the slow or no progress at all of the cases that were related to the university. And then that complaint was then handed over by the presidency to the three ministries who had to those three ministries included the Minister of Police, through the National Commissioner. Then the extension of the mandate was extended by the National Commissioner to be deployed to go and intervene by investigating those cases in the University of Fort Hare.
Thank you.
I'm looking at paragraph 44.2, General. It says, in response, I prepared a proposal to the Commissioner and approval by the Minister to extend the PKTT to the Eastern Cape. I just want to understand approval. Why would this have had to be approved by the Minister? I'm asking this in the context of evidence that has said on operations is not supposed to be involved. Was this not an operational matter? Why would the Minister have to approve?
Thank you, Commissioners. The approval as reflected under paragraph 44.2 is not akin to the Minister of Police approving the deployment. The PKTT was operating in KZN. So it was the National Commissioner who approved the operational deployment. But then the chairperson of the IMC, the very same chairperson of the IMC, was also one of the ministers that were assigned by the President to intervene in the University of Fort Hare, Eastern Cape.
For me to understand, did the same thing happen then? That is an approval by the PKTT members were sent up to Gauteng, where we are sitting, to assist with the GCI ops investigations. Did the Minister have to approve that? If not, why not? Aren't the two comparable?
Thank you. No. My response will be no in the latter. And then why not will be the deployment in the University of Fort Hare, Eastern Cape, as I've indicated. It came the route of the presidency as in. Then the assistance in the Gauteng counterintelligence investigation was an operational decision after the facts and lots of consideration threat that was in place. So it is not the Gauteng counterintelligence investigation is not streaming from the presidency to IMC route. It was just an operational decision at National Commissioner's level.
Can you make of the same document under the heading recommendations?
Page 99.
Of this statement.
No. It's page 99 of SDK 7.
Yes, Commissioner.
Does that assist in answering the chair's question? Remember the chair asked you, why does the minister need to have this document?
Thank you, Commissioner. It assists a lot. This was the progress report that was directed to the president, who had it was not an approval of the deployment, but is to give progress to the president on the signature of the Minister of Police.
General Khumalo, could you read the sentence under recommendations just so it's clear for the record? Because that was, in effect, what was recommended by you.
It is recommended that the minister takes note of the progress report and approves the draft response to the president as attached.
Thank you. Chair.
It seems to me then, General, that 44.2 is not quite accurate. Or am I missing it altogether?
You are correct, Chair.
Yes.
Reading it together, Commissioner, in one line, referring to this information note is not quite accurate.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Sim.
Thank you for the correction. But Chair, sorry, we skipped a beat. We would jump to paragraph 44 without dealing with annexure SDK 5. So, General, could you go back to paragraph 43? And in paragraph 43, you talk about the a briefing to the IMC, SDK 5. Can we go to SDK 5?
Thank you, Chair. Paragraph 43 reflects on the 1st and the 3rd of August 2018, where it was during this briefing where the PKTT gave their first progress report to the IMC, which was for the period the 9th of July. During that time, the PKTT had only those 20 days lifespan, as it was formally established on the 1st of July. But then the reporting period, maybe, Chair, to explain the difference of the official establishment and the commencement, as the national deployable to have the operations beginning on the same day. You need mobilization week So between the first up until then the 9th, the 8th, that's when then the operations started. Then SDK5 talk that was presented then to that first IMC of the National Political Killings Task Team.
Thank you. And then on page 51 of SDK5, does this depict what you are saying in your last sentence of paragraph 43? That it was in that short period of time that had already been referred to the PKTT.
That is correct, Commissioners. Within those 2.5 weeks, the team was already allocated a total number of 126 dockets. Page 51 of the annexure, we are reflecting the distribution of those 126 dockets in line with the plan that I explained earlier on, that we had divided the province into 4 small and manageable areas of operation. The 126 dockets were then distributed accordingly to those 4 teams.
Thank you. In the same annexure, at paragraph, page 83, there's a, if you could just explain to us what are these list of cases. Is this a report on the status of those dockets that now were within the remit of the PKTT?
As part of this initial report, we had to list all the cases that were already allocated to the team, dividing them amongst those that were still under investigation, those that were at court already, and those that were finalized if there were any. So under page 83, we are reflecting one of the cases that when the in was still under investigation, there was no accused that was charged on that case, and it is a different color. It was the case, I think on this report there are other 2 or 3 cases that are highlighted. That was an indication of the cases that the team had worked on within that 2 to 3 weeks and had the potential of going to court by charging identified suspects.
Okay, so the points that are now ready to go forward to, you've made, those are the ones in which you've made significant progress. I just want to understand the highlight.
The highlight is talking to those where the team had made progress within 3 weeks. It's twofold. This particular case, part of my testimony affidavit, it also talks to the misinformation that has been flying around, that talks to when the team was established. This case was already at court, but I will discuss that in details as we move on.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll return to that. Then can you go to paragraph 45? And this is
Sorry.
where you...
Sorry, Ms. Hassan, if I may, before you leave entirely paragraph 44, the general under SDK 6, that's the letter from the president to how the PKTT ends up looking at the Eastern Cape, in particular the University of Fort Hare. And I just want to clear what might be a gap for me. We have earlier in your statement a description of the IMC who constitutes. Now, this letter from the president is addressed to the Minister of Defense and Military Veterans and the Minister of Police, and then it's copied to the Minister of Education, and then somewhere in the body of it, I think it's paragraph 1, 2, 3, 4, it says, in paragraph 4, it says, I have directed Minister Nzimande to engage with the security cluster solutions towards arrest and prosecutions. This is about Fort Hare. Is security cluster the same as those people that you have described in your paragraph 28 as constituting the interministerial committee?
The understanding might look exactly like that, commissioners, but then the establishment of the is done on a different directive, like this one. So the interpretation of the relevant ministers by then was then that the Minister of Education needs to engage the security cluster ministers to assist him. That was the understanding of this directive.
I'm asking the question to clarify because if you recall, earlier I asked the question whether in your recollection or knowledge, Minister Cele had ever issued instructions to the PKTT or relating to the PKTT, and your answer was no, not to your recollection. And I think I understood you now to say in this case of Fort Hare, he did, and yet there's also, well, so there's reference, it being a referral by the president. I'm just trying to see where does the IMC fit in this referral of the Fort Hare issues?
Thank you, Commissioner. In response, maybe one has to tap from experience because one was part of this process. Maybe starting explaining the timeline, looking at the date of the letter from the presidency, which is dated the 8th of March 2023. The 8th of March 2023 came when the intervention was already. The initial complaint by telephonically, it happened on the day when the driver of the Vice Chancellor was killed. So the deployment and the decision and the deployment happened prior to the letter directing. So the initial decisions, operational decisions by the National Commissioner was responding to the matter as then came up during the engagement between the National Commissioner and the Vice Chancellor after the complaint telephonically to the President, which was followed later on by the directive dated 8th of March 2023.
General, that clarifies it.
And then for completeness, perhaps, so then SDK 7 is the information note that you prepared. to address the date of University of Fort Hare. Is that correct?
I think it's more a report.
SDK 7,
SDK 7.
Commissioners,
Yes,
it's
there's a report.
the progress report that talks to my previous, the written directive by the presidency came after the intervention was already implemented, hence of progress report.
Understood. Thank you.
Does that explain, if you go to page 97 of the progress report? So if you look at block 3, there is national task team. Does that mean the task team was already deployed
That is correct, Commissioner.
at Fort Hare
That is correct, Commissioner.
when this report was prepared?
That is correct, Commissioner.
In fact, General, if you look at 99, page 99, the date of the report, the letter from the President is the 8th of March, and then your report is the 23rd of March. So that speaks to what you've just said, the time the letter came.
That is correct, Commissioners.
Thank you.
And that decision was made solely by the National Commissioner. No minister was involved in the decision to deploy
That is correct,
the
Commissioner.
task team at Fort Hare.
Yes, Commissioner.
So that addresses the deployment to the Eastern Cape. And then in paragraph 45, you speak of the mandate being extended further. Then, can you just address paragraph 45 for the Commission?
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioners. During March 2024, the political killing task team was extended then to include the killings of traditional leaders in the same province, KwaZulu-Natal. The operational area remained the same, but it was then the criteria of cases that was extended. The information note as per SDK 9 will give then more on this extension of the mandate.
And the extension note, I mean, the information note and the extension, this is being for resources to enable the operation of the work on the traditional leader killings. Is that right?
That is correct, Commissioners. The National Commissioner decided to extend the mandate based on the discussions that he might have had with the affected environments. Then it was then extended as per paragraph 5 of the.
And then at paragraph 100 and page 110 rather of that annexure, the approval was for 20 million. Is that correct?
That is correct, Commissioners.
And can you explain, you had requested more than that, is that correct? And can you just explain the approval of the budget?
The request was for the budget for the financial year 24-25. That was submitted towards the end of March. And then the approval was granted for 20 million instead of the amount applied for as reasons provided by the accounting officer that they finalized then during the allocation of budget for the department for that particular financial year. So this was the approval of the first few expenditure activities before the approval of the budget for SAPS.
And that budget too was to come from the national budget, is that correct?
That is correct, Commissioners.
So in your statement, you then go to the status of the dockets at 31st December 2024. Can we go to paragraph 46, please?
Perhaps before that, Ms. Asim, if we just go back to that information note and for completeness, because this may well become relevant somewhere down the line. General, at page 109, you have a comment. So you've got that approvals list. You're the first is as the recommender, and then General Sibia signs approving on the 26th of March 2024, and then you've got General Dimpane. There are notes there, and I think importantly perhaps let's look at the second note, Ms. Hassim. That's post-elections. I can't quite read all of it. And then now Commissioner comments in the next page, following that note from General Dimpane. General, if you would just read that. That's post-elections?
So it's the second bullet,
Yes,
second dash.
The second dash, yes.
The second dash, post-elections, the task team be deactivated in existence for
the last
for the last 5 years.
Yes.
It's not quite clear, but I think it reads for the last 5 years.
Yes.
Chair.
And in the next page, where the National Commissioner approves the amount of 20 million, he says something, I'll read it. If you can, perhaps you should read that into the record.
The National Commissioner, on his approval, responding to the comments by the Chief Financial Officer, states that the task team will continue beyond elections so long there is work to be done. Team cannot be localized to KZN.
Following this, and this is in 2024, March, April, when this new approval is given, or extension is given, has there been discussion as leader of the project? Has there been discussion internally about relocating or deactivating, to use General Dimpane's language, deactivating the team, the task team?
No, there has been no discussions about the deactivation of the task team, political killings task team.
Until the 31st of
Until the
December.
31st of December.
Thank you, Commissioner Beloy. If I can ask a follow-up question on this. The information note was prepared by you, and it was approved by the Deputy National Commissioner Crime Detection, at the time was Lieutenant General Sabia, and approved by Financial Management and Administration. And that is where we see the comment that post-elections the team is to be deactivated. So we engage with Divisional Commissioner for Financial Management and Administration on those comments, on those notes.
Thank you. My responsibility, as it's rightfully reflected there, starts with the submission. As the project leader or manager, starts with the submission to the next level, which is then the Deputy National Commissioner Crime Detection for his or her recommendation. And then it was recommended. Next step then is the financial approval, which is then the Chief Financial Officer or the Divisional Commissioner Financial Management and Administration, which then indicated the availability of funds in words instead of indicating with those comments. And then the same submission then to the National Commissioner, the accounting officer, to give the approval needs to be between the two. The CFO, who is then allocating the financial resources, with the accounting officer, who is approving both the operation as well as the financial allocation as recommended by the CFO. So the logic for now, commissioners was between the Chief Financial Officer and the accounting officer in terms of streamlining into the approval.
Thank you. That clarifies it. You didn't have a discussion with the CFO. Thank you. So your next, the next issue you turn to is then moving away from April 2024, when this was approved, December 2024, where you explained now the number of dockets that were in your possession as at that time. Can you take the Commission through your paragraph 46, please, and the table?
Thank you, Chair. The status as well as the workload that was task team as at the 31st of December 2024 by explaining the number of tables that are reflected there. They talk to the extensions that have explained under the establishment of the political clearing task team, as well as the extensions that were there. The first column talks to the political related cases that is based on 2018 July. The cases that were allocated to the team as at 31st of December 2024 were 333. The case dockets that were talking to the mandate of the political killings. The second part talks to the parallel cases that were also allocated to the team in addition to 333. Those are 90 as at the 31st of December were investigated and accounted for by the political killings task team based on their request. The reason that will always be there for a parallel docket to be requested from a be either during the analysis by the team out that there is evidence that is linking the political related case with a particular case at any other station or country. It's either through ballistical analysis, it's either through fingerprints, it's either through the modus operandi and any other similarities that the team will recommend that assigned to the team for parallel investigation together with the main docket. So as at the 31st of December 2024, those dockets were 90. Then the other group of dockets, it's ad hoc 120 as at the end of December. Those dockets are related to the task team will now and again conduct intelligence-driven operations that are mainly targeting or finding the murder weapons, the firearms that are used in these political killings incidents. So during those operations, and then the team will confiscate a lot of unlicensed firearms for ballistic testing or ballistical analysis, and then some of those firearms then will be positively political related cases, and those that are not positively linked, and then the team will register will register then a docket of possession of unlicensed firearm. Those dockets were 120 at the time of this report. The next batch related to the traditional leadership killings in the province. As at December 31st, there were 51 of those dockets that were allocated to the team. And then the University of Fort Hare cases, there were 18. And then we are giving then the sum total in terms of the dockets allocated to the team as at the end of 612.
Thank you. So
Is
if the...
this, sorry, Advocate Hassan, General, is this the report that was presented to the Minister in February 2025?
It is part of the report.
It is. When was this report prepared? The case management docket status report, 1 December 2024.
Yes, that's correct, Commissioner. It's soon after 31st of December.
So if there were 612 dockets as of 31 December, how do we come to the number 121 that we have been talking about in the Commission, that the 121 dockets that were to be handed over to head office?
Thank you, Chairperson. Commissioners, fast forward to the famous number of 121 to explain it at this stage, end of December. So the number 121 became famous around after March. Then that will mean that some of the, or four of the as at the end of December were now no longer under investigation, but they were at court. Hence, then the difference between 125 dockets under investigation in this report as at the end of December and the 121.
So the 121 dockets are dockets that were under investigation?
That is correct, Commissioners.
your paragraph 47.
Thank you, Commissioners. Then going to paragraph 27, unpacking as provided on paragraph 46. We are reflecting that the figures as highlighted, they demonstrate both the scale and diversity of political related cases in the province of KwaZulu-Natal, and also talking to the systematic approach that is used by the team that I explained earlier on in order to ensure accountability on the investigation and prosecution of these cases that are involving the political stakeholders, the municipality of under investigation, the contribution of the late under investigation, the contribution of the late extension of traditional leadership dockets that was still having less than within the task team. Those are 44 dockets. But then looking at the finalized dockets, more especially those that are finalized guilty, that will talk to the successful implementation of this adopted approach. And then moving on to where one is explaining other most important facts that needs consideration instead of only numbers as reflected there to determine the successfulness, to determine the adding of value or no value of the team that needs to be looked at. The team is not addressing murder cases the traditional way as it is done within, where someone is killed, you go out and look for the killer, and then you try to link that killer with the evidence that you have in your possession, and then you would consider as a successful investigation. As the team is approaching these investigations using the analysis-led as well as the model of investigation. As the team approaches the docket, the first phase of investigation is not directed towards finding the killer, directed towards determining and confirming the motive of this killing as to who might have wanted this particular deceased dead, instead of asking as to who's responsible for the killing. The first part talks to who might have wanted. Motive investigation.
Is that the so-called hit orderers?
Yes.
The National Commission.
Yes, commissioners. Once the motive is identified, then automatically it will come up with identification of persons of interest. That will be plotted on the organized crime blocks because the contract permit there. So it will be the replacement of a spotter by a name identified as a person of interest. Thereafter, the next phase of investigation will talk now to the collection of evidence that will be directed towards the linkage of identified persons of interest with that particular incident. Hence, then that will talk to having a successful rate in terms of charging also the heat orderers, those that will, under normal circumstances, because they are seldom present at the scene of crime. But then, based on the methodology that is in place, the team has managed for the past few years to charge some of them. Also, the other advantage that is, or the other successfulness of the team stemming from that particular model of investigation is within the motive investigation, not only who wanted this person dead, also why that part. And then that's where in most cases, also in line with the findings of Morane Commission, in most cases where the political principals or office bearers are attacked or killed, it will mainly be for fraud and corruption. But in most cases, with the current threat assessment, is for fraud and corruption. So the team then will register that docket as a motive docket to be investigated together with the murder docket, so as then the one who benefited deceased will also be held accountable. I am very slow, commissioners, to explain that part because now and again one will get accusations or allegations that are unfounded or baseless, that the team will go as far as choosing which fraud and corruption docket just to investigate outside the mandate. All the fraud and corruption dockets that are currently accounted and investigated by the team are linked parallel to the murder docket, and they are motive dockets. So we have seen a decrease on the...
So just before you, that's the encapsulation of your
49.
Of your paragraph 49. So,
yes.
and the aim, as you say, is to target the person who is ordering the.
Yes,
would it be fair to say that if you're successful in the approach that you've described, that contract killings would go down?
That will be my next explanation under paragraph, or towards the end of paragraph 49, that looking at when the team managed then to implement all the concepts, the methodologies, that's when then the decrease of contract killings into the space of political killings were showing decrease in terms of the next page of 49, under paragraph 49.
So you'd like to go to the table?
Yes, please.
I think that the table needs a bit of explanation. And Can you just first explain to the Commission what this table represents?
The table represents the number of dockets, not the incidents, the number of dockets that are allocated to the team as defined in the mandate in the province of KwaZulu-Natal from 2011. Then the is for the number of cases in total versus the number of murder cases, in other words, where people were killed. So as then one cannot lose sight of the magnitude of the killing themselves. I will explain later on as to what made the team to get to that determination.
The blue bars are the numbers of politically
related cases.
Yes. And of that number, the red bar reflects the murders.
The murder cases, Commissioners, that's correct.
What is the green bar then?
The use of the green bar from up to 2024, excluding 2022, was just to see the periods where the killings were decreasing, but they are still supposed to be red, representing murder incidents, but the use of green is just to try and understand the decrease or increase of murder cases.
So, yes.
Sorry, General, what's LGE and NPE in that graph?
Thank you, Commissioners. The LGE and NPE, LGE stands for Local for National and Provincial Elections. So the threat assessment has always been correct to say during those particular periods in our country where we have local government elections or increase on these cases. That was the threat assessment since that was done by the team since 2018. The 2017, 2016, 2015 backwards to 2011, those are the cases that were allocated to the team on their arrival in July 2018. And then from 2018 July moving forward, those were the cases that then were registered when the team then was already on the ground. So the monitoring thereof was talking to us moving forward. But then before I get to what happened in 2022, I will explain the highest number of cases combined in 2018, which is 58. That was during the time when the policy government was implemented where local councillors will be able then to be allocated some resources if there are incidents then of criminality against them. So most of these cases in 2018 were faked intimidations or attempted murder, sometimes increased the number of total cases in 2018. But fast forward.
So, General, we're going to break for lunch soon, but just to finish this point, are you referring to what the National Commissioner was speaking about, I believe he made a reference to false TR, threat and risk assessments, talking about in 2018.
I'm referring to the same fact that the National Commissioner referred to, which was prevalent in 2018 of those faked, some of them will go to the extreme. We have the recent incident where the council burned the house, so as then that can be the reason or evidence for him being attacked. Unfortunately, he was the only one who escaped fire because he was aware of the whole plan. Unfortunately, 3 or 4 kids and the wife perished in that fire. So it's one of the incidents that are talking to what was in 2018, and it's still happening. But most of those were intimidation and sometimes attempted murder incidents.
Thank you. Chair, is this an opportune time?
Yes, let us adjourn and resume at 2 p.m.
Was